Hey folks, what's going on? As you can see, I'm back doing another interview video, and actually, as you can see, this might be a familiar face you've seen in the past. This is Bree Klauser. I've interviewed her a couple times before. The first time was we were talking about her experience as a legally blind actor. The second time we were talking about her role in the Apple TV Plus show titled See. But now we're actually going to be talking about an Audible original that you're in, and you're actually the lead. So, Bree, I'm going to let you introduce yourself here, and also mention the project and your role in the project as well.
I'm glad to be back on your channel. My name is Bree Klauser. I am a legally blind slash low vision actress, singer, voiceover artist, and I currently have a new project out on Audible. It's an Audible original called Phreaks. That's Freaks with a PH. And I play the lead role of Emma Gable, who is a blind teenager from the 1970s who finds herself in the world of the phone phreaks, who were like the original hackers fighting the system against Ma Bell during this time. And it's a great cast. Christian Slater plays my father, Carrie Coon plays my mother, Ben McKenzie and Justice Smith are also in it, and is currently, or at least was for the month of August, available for free for listening on Audible. And it's a 10 episode series. It's not an audio book, it's an fully immersive cinematic experience just without picture.
And I've actually gone through the Audible original, and I'm going to highly recommend it. I'm not just saying this because I have to know Bree. It's a
Yeah.
really good. It's a really good story, and you should definitely listen to it. Now, as far as like just the whole historical context of like phone phreaking, how familiar were you with it? I mean, were you familiar with it at all?
Before the audition, I did not know about this at all. I did a little bit of research while I was auditioning, as every good actor should. I learned about the whistling. I learned about Captain Crunch. He was the main guy who became very famous for the phone phreaking. He was one of like the kingpins of phone phreaking that Bell and the FBI were trying to get. And they called him he called him Captain Crunch because in the story, people whistle or use a blue box, but Captain Crunch, they were like these little whistles that you used to get in cereal boxes back in the 70s, and it did the 2600 hertz. So you would use that to break into the phone line. So I remember watching a little documentary about that and getting really excited about the project. And in general, I really love historical fiction and stories that are based on truth, but kind
Right.
of put a point of view character to kind of jump you into the time period. And I think Emma is a great stand-in, being a teenager and being someone who is blind for that time, because teenagers were really active politically and probably most affected by the landscape of the 1970s. So I think it's a really exciting time period. And also, I think it's very historically accurate that Emma is blind and involved in these phone phreaks, because a lot of them were actually blind. And because of their blindness, I mean, I don't like to go into the whole like heightened sense, but a lot of them had good pitch ability and were able to whistle out these tones that would hack into the lines without getting the blue box technology.
Yeah, and I remember actually seeing not a documentary, but I forget where I saw it, but I was aware of it, but I didn't pay much attention to it. So when I saw the summary of what the Audible original was about, I was like, oh wait, they're gonna do something about that. That's interesting.
It's a part of history that's not really talked about, because it's like hackers. It's a bit subversive, but it's very relevant to today's community when we talk about online hackers and we talk about online communities. I think Carrie Coon said in one of her interviews that it was the 1970s version of TikTok, which I thought I was really cute.
With Emma, with your character, her being blind, what is it that got you to want to play a character like that?
I think Emma is so cool because her blindness, just like me, it doesn't define her. And early on in the series, she has this whole this really great line written by Matt Derby, and I have to really give props to him and the rest of the creative team for writing in a way that really honors the experience, of being low vision. One of the first things I read was she says something like, it's not that I can't see, I just, see differently. And, instead of seeing like a whole novel, mine's like a poem. It's just, little pieces I put together. I think that was cool that was put into the media, put into the story, because I feel like a lot of times in media, the perception that we're given is that blind people are just sitting alone in the dark, and that's totally not Emma. I also really relate to her in that, she is drawn to this audio world, but also like there's a tactileness when she talks about listening to the phone and how it excites her, all the clicks and beeps. I'm really excited by tactile sounds too, and I relate to them in a very visceral sense. So I connected to that right away, even when just reading the audition scripts. And also she's really quick. She's a real smart aleck, and I like that about her too. She don't take no guff. So she's really fun to play. She ain't no wilting flower. As I really gravitate towards characters who are strong, empowered, bold, and smart women, and Emma definitely falls into that lane.
Another thing, early on, when we started this interview, you mentioned some of the cast. When you did see, you were in a supporting actor role, but here, all of a sudden, you're the lead. So psychologically, though, how does that feel for you to be, the lead in a cast like this?
The beauty of voiceover is you go in, you do your thing, you usually read with the reader, maybe you'll read with some other cast members. None of us got to meet. So I didn't have to deal with like the scariness of, oh my God, I'm reading with Christian Slater. Like, so I went in there and did my thing, and he went in there and did his thing. And I don't know if he ever heard my read. I definitely didn't hear his, because I knew as we were recording the project that he was attached to it, but the whole cast was not solidified. I was just given little hints of, oh, okay, Justice is going to play Sonny Jim. When I was reading, I didn't try to imagine, okay, I'm reading with Justice Smith. I would imagine, okay, based on what the reader is giving me, how am I going to react to Sonny Jim? And I think it's really a testament to the engineers and mixers and the creators of this kind of audio drama format, in that they really do create an experience where it sounds like we're in the room. You really wouldn't believe that we were recording this on separate coasts.
Yeah, I mean, the mixing was great. It really did feel like you guys were just talking to one another.
And there's definitely an intimidation factor in being like, okay, this is my first huge voiceover project and I am leading that. But I kind of threw my trust into the creative team, especially our phenomenal director, Shayna Feinberg. She really made sure that I had everything I needed to be successful. I had no time to be nervous or worry about, oh, am I going to do this right? Am I going to lead this project? But the very first day, we just launched in. We did 6 hours of all of the narration that you hear Emma do. So you hear a lot of, she's the POV character, so she's the only one where we hear her internal thoughts. So we did all of that in the first day. So it was a crash course in narration, because I've never done a narrative of voiceover project like this. I've done a little bit of animation, a little bit of commercials, but nothing like this. Voiceover, it's a very physical medium, even though you think, oh, it's just your voice. No, it requires your whole body. So even like sitting here, like you'll hear a difference between I'm sitting with my legs crossed and now I'm sitting with my legs wide. And one of the key directing notes I would get for Emma is, okay, look at your feet when you say this line, because it automatically makes you sound more introverted and less connected.
I was actually going to ask you. You kind of segued into another question I had, but I was going to ask. what kind of challenges did you face just as an actor? Because this is a voiceover production. I mean, was there anything else that you kind of faced that was a challenge in doing this?
Well, the first elephant in the room is like people say, well, how will you read your scripts if you're low vision? And for me, I'm really lucky that we live in this day of age with iPads and tablets. So we within 5 minutes, the engineers were fabulous with setting up the accessibility I need. If I was sitting, we would get a desk that raises, like kind of what you call a standing desk,
Right.
and put the iPad on a tilted holder and put it as pretty much as close to the mic as possible, like you see where my hands are. And if we were doing a standing session where I was doing a live read with another reader or another actor, we would put on a standing iPad stand and we would put it, just as close to the mic. Because in voiceover, what is really different than other forms of scripted medium like on camera or theater is that you don't memorize your lines. First of all, it's a lot to memorize, and scripts can change really quickly. But the idea is that you're reading and you're narrating. So for me, I liked to read the whole story and maybe familiarize myself with any sections that I felt that were particularly wordy or tricky. So trusting that it's okay that I'm not memorizing this, and I can trust that, the script is right there if I need it, and I'm going to be able to act spontaneously. I think that was a challenge, but then I found it being really freeing that, like, I didn't have to, worry about memorization. I can kind of go where the words were taking me.
The last question that I have for you is, and I think I asked you this when we were talking about C,
Sure.
but what is it that you want an audience to get out of Phreaks or while they're listening to it?
I think Phreaks is a great story about connection and community. And I think right now we need that more than ever, being isolated in our houses. And we're so lucky right now that we do live in an age where connectivity is everywhere with technology. But back then, these teens who, may have torn relationships with their family or rough home lives or politically struggling, all the situations in the 70s, they were able to find joy and community and friendship through this telephone system, through technology. And I think that is super relevant for today. And I think, Zoom is great to see the face, but it still is a little bit of like a delay, and there's like a digital artifact. So it's something about the actual phone, that warm hum that she talks about, although we don't really hear that as much. And I think there's a lot of anxiety with younger generations at making phone calls, but I've always loved talking on the phone with people. I think we need to place some value and emphasis that the phone is a tool for connection, that voice-to-voice connection, especially when we're not able to do as much face-to-face time in person like we used to. And it's about, your chosen family, opposed to not everyone is blessed with great families or great home lives. So the idea that you can find your people and you can find your tribe. I love that idea of finding your tribe. Whatever adversity you're facing, whether you have a disability or a different background, sexual orientation, race, you can find your sanctuary through connecting through technology like telephones.
So I want to say thank you to Bree for being on here, and I want you to give if you can share your social media information if anybody wants to get in touch with you or contact you.
Great. And before I do that, let me say that, Phreaks is available to listen for free on Audible. You can go to audible.com/Phreaks. That's PHREAKS. And you can listen to it for free as one of your 2 Audible originals you get a month with your membership. If you follow me on Instagram, it's Bree, BREE _ Klauser, KLAUSER _ official. And you can also find the link to Phreaks in my bio. And I'm also on Twitter again. So you can follow me. I'm not super active there, but I am there at Bree Klauser on Twitter. And well, you can check out more happenings in my life and my career at my website, breeklauser.com.
All right. Thank you so much. And go check out Phreaks. And it's so awesome to have you back on here again, Bree. It was,
Thank you, Juan. It was a pleasure.
yeah. All right, you guys. I'll see you guys in the next video.
Bye.